All right, guys, we've got Muma with us now, and we will start with questions for him with Jesse.
Maema, it sounds as though last season was a fairly difficult year for you. Can you take us through some of the struggles you went through and what you've persevered through?
Sure. Thank you, Jesse. Yeah, last season, um, injured myself in the middle of quarantine at the very beginning. Didn't know what it was because just couldn't get evaluated at the time. And so I was kind of just out from lifting for that entire period until we got to campus on June. I found out that I actually had a hernia, and so I needed to be operated on in July. Got through surgery, came back in time for the beginning of the season, and then the season got canceled. And over the 2-week break we had, I ended up contracting COVID. So I went through that. They told me that the COVID had affected my heart, and so I was out for about a month as they were running more tests and all that. Finally came back from all that, and like about 3 or 4 days into practice, I tore my groin, and then I was out for basically the rest of the season. Ended up coming back around Indiana week and was lucky enough to play in the bowl game, but just a lot of ups and downs, and that's life sometimes. So that was kind of the up and down roller coaster story of last year, and I'm healthy now and I've been back in action. That's been good.
Go to Jeff.
Yeah, Maema, you mentioned, just to clarify, you said you got hurt in the quarantine. Was that when everything was shut down? And also, when you heard them say it's affected your heart, what was your internal reaction?
Yeah, so by quarantine, I meant at the beginning of lockdown. So actually about a year ago today, I was doing some lifts, didn't have the proper equipment, just didn't set my core right, and just pulled something and just didn't get better, found out it was a hernia. And as far as when they told me that the COVID had affected my heart, I mean, that was probably one of the less good days, one of the worst days I've had on campus, just panicking. Especially at the time, we didn't know a lot about COVID. And so it was like, all right, is this like a end of the season, end of my career type situation? Like, and the doctors didn't have any answers at that point other than, hey, you can't practice or play until further notice. So that was definitely a rough stretch. And just being able to lean on my family during that time was crucial. Yeah.
Go to Colton.
Well, I just wondered, along with that, just where is the progress with that now? I feel like doctors have been able to figure out some more things with COVID and all of its effects. Do you feel healthy now, or where do you stand now?
Yeah, no, I'm great now. And it was sort of, I don't want to say a false alarm because like my EKGs did change, but they didn't think it was not as drastic as they thought. And there was just some naturally occurring things I already had in my heart. Certain structures looked a certain way that normally you either have that because like you were born like that or because of COVID. And so there was no prior scans of my heart. So they just assumed it was the COVID, if that makes sense. But no, I'm good now, healthy. And, but boy, a situation like that really makes you grateful to be able to practice every day because you realize just how like close you were to not practicing or being able to continue playing. So
Back to Jesse.
Obviously, Jack and Leo are going to get most of the snaps at the position this year, but you've sort of been right on the cusp of breaking in. What do you feel like you do well that can allow you to break into that rotation? And are there certain things you've worked on to get to that point?
Yeah, I mean, between last year and this year, the biggest question has been durability. And I've proven thus far, like, yeah, I can be durable. Last year was a fluke. And now it's just how quickly can I learn everything? I think I'm a quick processor. I think when I know what I want to do, I'm explosive and quick to the point of attack. And right now it's just been trying to learn from guys like Leo and Jack who've done it more than just in spring ball, who've done it the Big Ten championship, who've done it at a bowl game, like really guys who have a lot of playing experience. So just watching them and kind of starting to pick up practice habits from them And I honestly just trusting the process. I know it's cliche, but like realizing that at the end of the day, coach is going to put the guy in who's ready, who knows his stuff. And right now that's Jack and Leo. And so just trying to get to that point where coach can trust me.
Back to Jeff.
Yeah, Muma, I apologize for belaboring the thing on COVID, but can you give us a timeline? Like when the diagnosis came, when the doctor said, okay, your heart's fine, you're good to go. And were they just being cautious with you because they didn't know everything?
Sure. Yeah. So timeline probably September 3rd or 4th, contracted COVID. 10 days later, so like midway through September, it was like, all right, go get tested. Very same day, the test results came back. I got actually tested with my roommate Tate. He was cleared and I was not cleared. And the only conversation I had with the trainer was, hey, something's off. Like, we're just going to run more tests. And so then it was about 4 or 5 days, even up to a week maybe, of just like more tests being ran. And basically the doctors came back and they were like, yeah, you have a heart effusion or effusion. Basically, I have a sac of liquid around my heart, which some people have just naturally. And I just happen to have that naturally, but they thought that was because of COVID. And there's definitely a point of like, let's be cautious because like this is new and we don't want to send our athletes into like a dangerous situation. So there's definitely a bit of that, but there's also some genuine concern as to like what the virus had done to me. But like I said, all clear now. And yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. And when did you get clearance that, hey, your heart's okay, you can do this?
I want to say end of September. So maybe it was like September 28th. And then there was like a 7-day back to play protocol. And then so I was able to practice like one of the early days of October.
All right. Anything else for Muma? All right. I think we're good. Thanks, Muma. Appreciate your time.
Cool. Thank you for having me, guys.